irregular verbs, okay? Irregular verbs are not irregular because by definition they are irregular, but there are regularities in irregularities. So do you remember this was 20 of the most common irregular verbs. You look at this and you think, oh, I have to memorize every single one of these. Ugh. No, you don't, because they're all in each respective groups, and you just need to know a few rules to each of them.
Okay.
Once you know the rule, it's just a matter of literally just using the language, and that's it. Like, you literally just have to use the language until you realize, oh, entender falls into the category of verb splitting, so it falls into the green category, or you know what I mean. But these go on for forever. By the way, these are like super long lists, but these are like the most common ones, and these are tiny irregularities. These are the most irregular ones. I don't want you to memorize these. This is where I go through these. These, like, I want you to just know why everything happens. I know when I went through this before, you struggled with it. So, when you were watching the course video, did this concept make sense right here?
Yes.
So, do you think you well understood why, not what, but why this happens right here?
Well, because the stress splits. So TNA, yeah, because the stress in the word.
What is getting stressed right here?
The IE.
The E gets stressed, or the O gets stressed, and it's only in the beginnings of verbs. So, tener, poder, venir, right? Should be tener, should be poder, should be bene, but because of that stress, it splits. But remember, where was the stress in the we form?
Podemos.
Where is the stress?
In the O.
It's in the O for these. For these, it's in the O, right? You don't say podo, right? It's podo, right? Which is why it has to split, because there's stress on it. But do you say, let's take the verb hablar, right? Do you say hablamos, or do you say hablamos?
Hablamos.
So where's the stress? Is it on the beginning vowel, or is it on the amos or emos or emos?
In the amos.
Right. This red significant. It means this red is supposed to mean where the stress is. Now, because of that, because of that, the stress is no longer on the O, so it's protected. So it does not have to split. The reason why this splits to UE is because, again, this is the rule that I want you to know. Because of the stress. This picture right here is just this entire part of the course, or of this module, is just this, knowing this, for example. For verb splitting, the beginning vowel of E will split to I, the O will split to UE, because of the stress. Not because of anything else. So if there isn't stress on it, why would it split?
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't. Great. Because it's put on the emos. And this concept also applies for any verbs. So we have mentir, right? Which is to lie. Should be mento, but because it's mento, it becomes miento because of stress.
Okay.
Mentes. But now look, it should be mentimos, and it is mentimos. Why is that?
Mentimos.
Why do you think it is that? Why did it not split? Because look, there's stress on this E. Why did it split here, but it does not split here?
Because there's no stress on the E.
Exactly. Where is the stress?
In the emos.
So it's protected. Great job. So, but look here. Here, if you don't say menten, you say menten. So because there's the stress is on the it has to split again. And this pattern of that. By the way, again, this is another thing. Don't worry, this seemed kind of hard. When I did this first, I did not. This was confusing to me. I had to redo it over and over again. So that literally covers this list. So if I give you entender, now you'd be able to tell me why it becomes entiendo. If I give you venir, you can tell me why it becomes viene. If I give you poder, you should be able to tell me why that is. And we just went through why it
Yeah.
is, right? We just went through here why
Yeah.
it is. So now you know this along with thousands. Actually, let me search up how many reflexive verbs are there in Spanish. How many reflexive verbs in Spanish?
There you go. It's right there.
Um,
121. Wow.
there's 100 most common, but there's way more than that. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
121, for example. So yeah, like this pattern, it applies to every single one for the same exact reason. So you think that you have to memorize 120 irregular verbs. In reality, you just have to know a few basic like rules. Let's go to, for like, again, I don't want to really go through all of these rules because I go through it in the course, but I want you to know it. Like, I want you to test yourself on them. Do you know how to
Okay.
test yourself on them, by the way? All you do is look at like one of these and try to guess him. I'll take servir, for example. Or okay, let's go to an easier one first. Let's go the red ones.
Yes, sir.
So some are only irregular in their I forms, and they'll just put a go instead of an O. So we had, for example, hacer, which was to do. Should be aso, but you know it didn't sound right. Let's make it hago. It is irregular, but look, it happens for several other verbs. It should be trao, but it's traigo. Should be cao, but it's caigo. Should be salo, but what do you think? What do you think it's gonna be?
It's all good.
Salgo. So let's guess the rest of the, and by the way, okay, that's only for the I form. But for the rest of the forms, it's all regular. Hace, haces, hacemos, hacen. By the way, this is why before we get into irregular stuff, I really want you to get down the regular stuff. So when I tell you about like a rule, what do we do for added verbs to make it he? What do we do for added verbs to make it we? What do you do for added, like I want you to be able to know that, which is why these lessons, like this, starting from essentially here all the way to here, these three, I want you to like this should be like right on top of your head. By the end of this course, do you know what the purpose of this course really is? There's a reason why it's called the fundamentals. It's literally just that by the end of this entire thing, you should be able to make any sentence in Spanish if you know the what. Just like how in math, you should be able to solve any equation if you know the rules behind the equation.
Right.
So just like in division, you should be able to like using division rules or using, I don't know if you've heard of this. You can use, there's like this method of using your fingers to calculate every single nine, like the nine, like the letter 9 or not the letter, number 9, for every single one of the multiplications. So you take up your fingers and then you use that method of fingers to find every single one. It doesn't matter what number I give you. Using that method, you should be able to get it. In the same way, using all the rules in this entire like course, mainly in the first one, these next ones are like not as like beefy. Using those rules, you should be able to get any sentence, and that just comes by just knowing the rules and when they happen. That's the whole point of this course. And to test if you know it or not is literally just I test it to you during the lesson. So during lessons when I tell you to pause and then I give you a question. By the way, how has that been going? Have you been, like, when I ask you a question and you reply, do you get the answer right usually?
Usually, yeah.
Usually. And when you don't get it right, do you know why you didn't get it right?
Yeah. It's
For the most part.
usually, for the most part.
Are there some instances that like you feel that and like no, you don't really know why it wasn't like it didn't like become that?
Only in a few cases.
Yeah, in those cases, just write to me. Hey, why doesn't let's go. Why doesn't ber become bo, or why doesn't saber become sabo? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can just ask me like, okay, why is that the case? And I'll like just ask me on Discord and I'll explain it to you. That's one benefit of like this one-to-one thing.
Sounds good.
So yeah, but most of the part, if you're getting every single one of like my questions right, but I don't want you to memorize my question, by the way. Just know that like why that happens. Why does poner become pongo? Why does tener become tiene or tengo? why does seguir become sigo instead of sego?
Mm-hmm.
This is another one of those. Pedir becomes pido for I. Seguir becomes sigo. So what do you think servir would become?
Um, let's see here. Sviga?
So they follow the same, pattern. Look, pedir
See?
should be pedo, but it becomes pido.
Okay.
Seguir should be sego, but it's sigo. Servir should be servo, but it's sirvo. Do you see a pattern here? Do you see a rule emerging?
Yeah.
So what do you think elegir? Do you think, how do you say I choose, which is elegir? Elegir is to choose. How do you think you say I choose? Look at how they sound. Pedir, servir, seguir, servir, elegir. They all sound very similar, which means they all probably follow the same rule. So how do you think you say I choose?
Elegiga?
I choose. So what do we do for eat verbs firstly?
For ear verbs.
So eat verbs. So what do we do? We take off the eat and what do we put to make it I?
E.
I, me, not the he, she, it, you formal.
BNO.
Oh, so it should be elejo, just like it should be servo or sego. But what did these become? They became sigo, sirvo. So what do you think this one would become?
Eliga.
Elijo. And by the way, it's pronounced like this G in like this ear is pronounced like a ch or a H. Elegir. So it would be elijo. And that pretty much covers almost all of these irregularities, or almost all, except for these four, which all had their own methods to know. Like ir, we had our own method to understand it. But generally speaking, these rules apply for hundreds of verbs. This one applies for hundreds. This one is not really a rule, but it still applies for many. And this one applies for also like many, many, many.
Okay.
Point being, these are only four that like they sort of do have to be memorized, but there's methods to understanding these as well, which I go through here.
Got it.